Hey, how's it going, boys? What is up? Sora's back once again, and this is my light favorite. Well, light favorite. Yeah, you get the idea. It's my so-called like EX Plus setup thingy, which I also kind of put in like so-called suggestions, I suppose, for like whatever things you can kind of make do with your grid and such. I did quite a bit of a lengthy explanation though, but anyway, hopefully you guys find this video helpful, and thanks for always sticking by the channel and watching the streams and all that good stuff. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next video on stream. Enjoy the video. Peace. Depending on yeah, I think Light Sarah might actually do a lot better compared to Robomi though, because I got a feeling with Light Sarah, she might actually do like a little bit more than Robomi, because right now Robomi for me is doing like consistently 3.3, very close to 3.4. This number hardly ever changes. Her damage is very consistent. Yeah, like very consistent no matter what. It always hits. So this is her cap basically. She can't go any higher, but I think with the likes of what's that? What's her name? Like Sarah. I think like Sarah, she'll hit like, if she can hit cap, she'll be like around 2.3. Her nuke will do around 1 million something, some shit. So it's very likely that her damage is actually higher than hers, but who knows, whatever. The other thing is having Silva actually be good as well in the backline to give you extra nuke or whatever, but for some reason they didn't suggest that. But yeah, as you can tell, most of my damage comes from MC, so I think that's always Light's thing. Light's OTK, all your damage comes from MC. Not really much on the rest. The rest is just kind of like whatever. But yeah, my damage for Song is a little bit inconsistent sometimes. But the damage on John and Robomi is relatively okay. It's just her, because she doesn't have the crit buff, right? This too has the crit buff. She doesn't. And then MC does that nukes, which is consistent enough. Because from what I noticed that before this... Did I just start the video already without realizing? Yeah, never mind. So like, for assault time... Looks like I did start the video without realizing. I still have the Aurum Flow because the nuke makes a lot of difference. But like, I remember before, if I hit any lower than 2 million on my Aurum Flow, right? If my Aurum Flow doesn't hit 2 million, I would not be able to kill it. So, because I'm Zeus, having these 2 Aidens helped me a lot. Even though I'm using Cosmos, but I have like way too many swords anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I use 2 swords, but the raw damage is not enough. Having 2 Aidens definitely helped me a lot, because, well, this and this kind of helps it a lot better. If you have more Edens, you don't even need to use this grid, right? The thing is, this helps a lot. Having the skill cap helps a lot as well, because this is gonna do a nuke and then shit like that. Honestly, it's a lot better to swap someone else for this spot, especially if you're actually catered to skill damage anyway. So that's why I kind of suggested having a Light Sarah and front and the back on this side as well. If you're Light Sarah, actually she'll help as well. Like, she's literally on the screen right now. And then if you have Light Silva as well, she also adds another nuke, which is very dependent on your MC's damage. So if you have like cap or whatever, you know, if you're for some reason relatively high rank, you already have all this shit or whatever, or even any on this damage cap thingy, her nuke will be applied as well, from my understanding. Silva is actually really good, especially when she's subtickable, right? If you already got her, then yeah, that's cool, right? I don't, so. Because my big problem for Light is lacking of a characters that allows me to help OTK, right? And then the other thing as well, I'm using the original John, is because she literally gives me an extra this passive of hers. It feels like there's 11 weapons in my grid, right? Having an extra stamina, because the only stamina I have is this 3, right? Having an extra stamina still can be a little bit diluted already though, because her stamina passive is actually normal mod, yeah. So because I'm using Zeus, and I have like 2 Edens and I have another stamina. So all this are all normal mods. So technically it gets diluted a little bit, right? Because technically it feels here has 2, here's 1, and then Zeus shit, yeah. You get the point. So if you're using the likes of Magna, right, Jan is gonna help you like way more. Because you have like 1 extra stamina normal mod right here to bump up your damage. Because like if you didn't notice, right, when it comes to like grid building, the reasons why we always like, when you're focused on, say if you're using like Magna, right? When you're using Magna, you want to use like quite a few Magna weapons just to get it like emphasized a lot, right? And then you usually want to get like at least 1 mod of like a different type, just because you get an extra different mod, and it just adds up like as a different type of stack. So it's like your Magna, so then you have like a big and a little extra chunk of another extra mod. So that's why when you're using like Magna or whatever, you have another extra mod. It helps a lot. So basically, like, if let's just imagine like, yeah, let's just imagine that we have all swords here, right? And then you're using a Magna grid, and because we have a Magna here and a normal one here, right? But these are both attacks. It's good. But the thing is, you do not have any stamina until you put in 1 stamina in your opus, right? As you can see. If you put stamina in here, that means you only have 1 right here. So it's not really that diluted yet. So if you have like a character like her, she will actually bump up your damage way more. So it actually makes way more of a difference in adding like say like adding raw damage into your team and whatnot. Because honestly, if you ask me, OTK is all about, or at least EX plus OTK is all about putting in as much raw damage as you can. So it's more like, if you can emphasize the raw damage, if you get it very consistent already on your raw damage, you can worry about the caps later. So once that shit is done, if you want to like hit up like extra, if you can't cap any higher, you only worry about that later. You have to get your consistency up first, because you don't really want to like, shit, my debuff whiffed, and well, I'm fucked then, right? There goes my OTK. You don't really want to be in that situation most of the time. That's why when it comes to like OTK EX plus setup, you have to focus on putting in raw damage. You don't exactly have to get like crazy amount of what's that, caps and all that. You should worry about that later. But honestly, if you really want to get like extra cap, right, it's a lot better for you to focus on that department on skill damage instead, because skill damage is very, very easy to hit the cap, and it's very, very easy to get extra damage through skill cap, because you have the likes of this, because this shit alone adds like, what was it, 50% or some shit? I don't remember. I think it was 50%, but yeah, that shit adds a lot. And then you have your Seraphic as well, which gives you extra. And then you also have, if you already build up your Arcarum, that gives extra as well. Which is not just damage cap too. Because this is Amplify. Amplify basically means increases your raw damage and your cap as well. That's why Arcarum summons are really, really strong, instead of just having them rot in your inventory or whatever. And the main reason why this class weapon is really strong, because this adds another extra nuke on your MC. 2 extra nukes in fact. Because you put this as your main hand, and then you use the emblem that gives you the... When you use the charge attack, you get an extra nukes. So because you're doing two Ogis, right? That means you get 2 extra nukes then. So you just nuke once, and then the second Ogi you nuke again. And then, which I think each nuke does... You can easily get like 1 million plus anyway, because you have skill cap and shit. Depending on how much cap you have, really. In short, if you really want to get like very consistent OTK with your light, it's a lot easier to get it with extra skill damage. Because if, like, let's just put it this way, right? Even if you can't really hit that high yet for your, like, say, Ogis or whatever, but But your skill damage is scaled very, very easily. You can get it to cap super easily compared to the likes of like your Ogi or autos or whatever shit. So if you have like a lot of stuff that gives you extra like nukes or whatever, you can actually forego having the lack of high raw damage with the extra nukes. The nukes will probably be able to help you negate all that damage loss on the said raw damage I mentioned a while ago. So if you have, like I said, so if you have like the likes of Sarah, you have the likes of Silva that helps, or like what's that Valentine Potato if you somehow have her or luck-shit her or whatever. Yeah, even like Shitori main or whatever, but those ones you need like fucking fish, right? So, but for that case, it's like better off you just use Kangoo or something as your main MC, right? But yeah, you can consider all those stuff, but when it comes to grid building, honestly, I think the easiest is either you just go for full swords or you mix it up. I mean, this is for Magna, by the way. You mix it up with Metatron bows. You mix it up with having an what's that? The class weapon. You definitely want Opus to full limit break at the very least. One or two one Hector bow should be enough. The Hector bow should be good. Get it to full limit break. I think you should be good. If you have two, I think that helps as well. But I don't think you need too many in a Magna grid. For Primal grid, well, if you're already in Primal, I'm pretty sure by now you already have like enough Edens for it, right? Because honestly, if you have enough, you have a few Edens and Opus, I think you're pretty good already. I'm only using Primal for this one because I do not have a Magna Opus. So I don't think this really matters for I'll either pick, for me is either I pick Zeus or Lucifer. So for my assault time is 2 buttons and I need to hit 2 million for this. Yeah, as long as I hit above 2 million, I'm good already. Because that nuke allows me to kill this off. Because most of my damage comes from MC. I think that applies for every single light OTK out there, which is very heavily amplified by your MC. Your MC does like 3/4 of the damage. So yeah. Oops, I skipped too fast. So yeah, as you can see, MC does all the fucking damage. There's no doubt about it. MC just does all the damage for you. But yeah, assault time 2 buttons. It's not that great, but hey, because of me lacking like the important characters and stuff, I think that's good enough. Then for assault time, non-assault time, I'll definitely have to use this because, well, you gotta abuse that extra 10% meter from on Jutens, and then you get the extra 30% meter from what's that? The aura thing? This thing here. That's why you start if you start at 60%, because you know with a crew buff you'll be at 30%, right? But because if you have like the if you have the this thing, this is the, if you get all Jutens to max limit break, right, you have this wonder thingy which gives you extra boost to attack and defense and blah blah blah, extra charge bar to all the Jutens at the start. They get extra 10%, so which is good, because if you, oops, I forgot to show one more thing. Because like if you're using the likes of charge chain burst, if you're using chain burst, right, you're giving extra meter. So every time you Ogi, you give extra 10% meter to your team, which technically allows Song to have enough meter, because you're doing 2 nukes, right? Your MC is doing 2 nukes, so you're getting extra meter for Song to get enough. Because you're doing 2 nukes, that will be 20%. The extra nuke from the extra 10% from the chain burst will give her another 10%, which allows her to Ogi. Same goes then Ogi. That's one of the reasons why, because I think some people still ask me that, like, how do you get full Ogi with just Long Dong and shit? But yeah, Long Dong is quite standard right now. But yeah, my non-assault time, I have to press 3 buttons because the nukes helps me kill it. Because the nukes hits relatively hard anyway for Chrysor Croissant class anyway. Yeah. It's pretty consistent because the nuke damage is always around that amount for me. And like I said before, 3/4 of the like at least 90% of the damage comes from MC alone. At least like 50%. This looks like Yeah, this looks exactly like 50% or 60%. But yeah, you get the idea. So yeah, most of the damage comes from MC. The reason why I have Song is because, well, Song is only good for Ogi, right? It just makes the remaining characters more consistent, rather. That's why. So basically, Song is mostly a must in like majority of the OTKs, because it kind of eases out your like it just makes it a little bit more consistent on your remaining two characters, basically. Because of her Ogi, her crit, the boost all allies crit rate thingy is just really strong. Because that is 100% chance. It's basically 100% of the time. There's no way you can whiff that. You get an extra 100% damage, extra damage as crit. So your remaining characters will always crit, and they'll do extra 100% damage. So in terms of consistency, Song is kind of required for that. But I'm pretty sure if you're already like, if you have like super high raw damage, like in Primal, you go like fucking, I don't know, 4 Edens or some shit like that, you probably don't even need that. You probably don't even need her, actually. You're basically just putting characters that has like very high like nuking power or shit like that, and you'll probably get that shit done quite easily, actually. So yeah, that's why Song is always like a must there. And then, like I explained earlier, Jun is just there because of her extra passive. This passive gives like an 11 weapon in your grid. And then the last one is basically just put in any other character you have that actually does a lot of damage. Because Robomi has very high Ogi damage, or Hogi cap rather. And then she's very consistent as well. Robomi is nice. Or if you have any other characters, you know, like Light Sarah, you have Shitori, Silva, I put on the back line. Even Juliet kind of works, but she has very shit raw damage. So yeah, you just got to keep that in mind. And then you have, what's that? Clarice as well. There's quite a few other characters, man. I don't think I can like name it on top of my head right now, but there are a few. Basically, any other characters that gives you like, you know, the extra so-called cap thingy or damage thing will probably help you. And whichever characters that also gives you like an extra nuke at the end of the turn will definitely help you as well. So anything before that, if you have trouble like doing like OTK stuff, you just add as many nukes as you can, like any high damage nukes or some shit. Or that also applies to like the characters themselves. If the characters themselves have like extra nukes, you could probably do that as well. Or if you have like summons that helps you debuff like 100% of the time, like having a Thor or some shit, that helps too if you want. For some reason, if you know, have problems landing your debuffs consistently, or like if you need debuffs in order for you to kill it off, right, the EX plus or whatever, then yeah, by all means, just use characters that has very high accuracy, so you don't really have to deal with like MC's bullshit at times. Because for some reason, we all know MC has a very shit accuracy in general in order for you to land like miserable miss or whatever shit, right? Because we are, if you played long enough, you probably know about that by now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could also use Lyria and all that shit too. Yeah, I don't think I can really name all the characters in the top of my head right now, but yeah, basically all those characters who has relatively high cap, or any characters that does an extra nuke, will be very helpful for your OTK stuff. So like I said, in general, you just want to prioritize on getting all of your raw damage up as much as you can. That is the number one priority, I would say, because based on my experience, OTK is better off you not really focusing all too much on cap first. It's just making your damage to be very consistent, because once your damage is consistent, you can hit the cap a lot easier. Because what's the point of you adding more cap when your raw damage can't even reach that high, right? If you put so much cap, but your raw damage is only down here, you're not even like, there's like this one big empty gap. Like what's the point, right? That's why you have to like focus on just building up your raw damage. That's why in a way having full Chef Swords does help, because it does add quite a bit of raw damage, because the fact that he has 2 weapon mods and shit, even though it's small, but it helps, because especially if you have Cosmos weapon. If you do not have Cosmos weapon, you probably have to feed in like Baha or some shit like that. And hopefully like all the characters you have actually fits along with that. And like I said earlier as well, if you have problems keep hitting it, you will definitely want to focus on having extra nukes, like skill nukes, or like say the likes of like Sarah again, for example, or Valentine Melissa Bell. Yeah, I think that's her name. So yeah, it's all about keeping it very, very consistent, because there are times where if you just don't have the consistency, you just won't be able to hit that amount of damage all the time. You probably hit like sometimes 17 million, then sometimes you hit 21 million, sometimes you hit 18 million, 19 million. You know, it keeps doing like that, then what's the point, right? If you can't have your damage consistent, because you want to, you know, when it comes to Guild War, you usually kind of want to, you just want to switch off your goddamn brain and just press the same buttons over and over and just go fucking Pepega or some shit, right? Usually you tend to do that, because grinding meats or grinding in Guild War EX Plus can be very, 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 very exhausting, because and draining at the same time, because you're doing the exact same shit for, I don't know, hours, depending on how fast you kill it and how fast your fucking ping is, because apparently all of that takes in account. But yeah, honestly, I think the most easiest if you really want to go for Magna is that you just fill in as many swords, get Cosmos weapon, get this class weapon, or fit in Hector bow, Metatron bow, and shit like that. That helps too. And then make sure you have your own Follow Me Break Chef or whatever and stuff like that. And it'll even help it even better if you somehow manage to get your Opus up as well, as in your third skill Opus. If you somehow get that, that'll help it even more. If not, well, you're probably gonna have a little bit of trouble. You probably have to press way more buttons, but Magna is possible to actually press very little buttons. It is very possible to do that. Only if you have the stuff I mentioned earlier. Like, you know, if you have, like, say, even the likes of a maxed out star, Metatron, and all that shit probably help you as well, so yeah. But Primal, I don't think you need me to teach you or anything, because, like, or me mentioning anything about Primal, because, well, there's Edens, there's certificates. If you have this too, you will have no problems. So, yeah. I don't think there's much else for me to explain about the light OTK though. I think I already explained majority of it. Because there's so many characters for light that you can get, but like, because I don't really have majority of those characters, sick characters, so I'm kind of fixated to only like a certain amount of characters. So yeah, I can't really show much right now, unfortunately, but yeah, this is the only ones I can show right now. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of characters out there. So like the few ones I mentioned earlier, you know, Lyria, Shitori, Maids, Robomi, Sarah, Valentine, Melissa Bell, Juliet, Lyria, and some others. Silva, yeah. You know, there's like quite a few of them. Summer Noise as well, yeah. Those sit characters. There are quite a few characters out there. So yeah, that's how my light OTK turned out to be. I'm actually very happy for a fact that I can consistently kill it in 3 buttons outside of assault time. I'm very fucking happy, because before this, I don't even have Robomi, right? I think without the help of Robomi, right, I don't think I can get it very consistently, because before this, I was just using Juliet, and Juliet's damage is very inconsistent. And if you didn't know, 1 year ago, last year in 2019, holy shit, I can't believe I can say that now. In 2019, in Light Favorite Guild War, if you didn't know, it took me like 10 buttons to OTK that motherfucker, okay? It took me 10 fucking buttons, or at least, or maybe even more than 10 buttons for me to OTK. That's how far I've come for my fucking light OTK, man. It was a long road, okay? It was a very, very sad times in Light Favorite last year. But now it's a lot easier to get there because, well, we have Cosmos, we have Hector Bow to follow me break and shit. Because last year at that time, Hector Bow was not, we couldn't follow me break it yet and stuff like that. Yeah, so now we have more options. But still, Light Magna is still pretty shit anyway, so I guess that's it. I don't have a proper intro to this, but yes, thanks for watching. Bye bye. Papega. Comments Papega in the comment section. Like, subscribe. Papega. Ricardo Flick. I don't know. And one more thing. Do not follow this. I think this is fucking... This thing is too damn Papega. This thing is way too Papega for me to comprehend. I don't think you really want to copy this at all. But yeah, sure.